this. Hello, everyone. I'm Brooke Wilson. I'm the president of the Inter-Residence Hall Association.
Hi, my name's Ariana, and I'm the vice president.
And we'd like to thank you guys for allowing us to come and speak to you all tonight. As previously mentioned, we are the Inter-Residence Hall Association, more commonly known as IRHA. So who are we? We understand that some of you may not exactly know who we are or what we do, but we think there's a lot of potential for our organizations to work together and for years to come. That being said, we are a proud student-run organization that primarily focuses on representing residence hall students' needs and concerns while putting on fun and free events.
And going in a little bit deeper, we have a parliament that is made up of 36 members, 32 voting, and 4 student government representatives. We have 8 executive members and 3 advisors, including Dave Garsow, Muhammad Ali, and Dr. Pete England.
So then this just kind of replicates of how IRHA is kind of run. So there's IRHA as a whole at the top. Then there's our executive team, which is the 8 of us plus our advisors. And then there's IRHA Parliament.
And then within Parliament, we have 32 IRHA Parliament members, and then we also have our student government reps. And then the Parliament members come from 14 hall councils, and that generates down to over 1,100 student leaders within the residence halls. So a lot of students that live within the residence halls have the opportunity to become leaders. And in fact, 12 people sitting in this room have once been in IRHA.
So then as for our budget, we get $15 per resident that lives in a residence hall. We do have a little bit of restricted funds, about $111,000 and $950. That goes to our executive stipends, any like executive events that we do, Cyclone Cinema for like conferences, the Fall Fest we do, which is actually going on this week.
And then we also have a $63,000 discretionary fund. And this really allows our halls to explore their creative side where they can come up with fun and free events for their residents and for residents within the Department of Residence to participate in. Our most recent one was brought to us by Helzer Hall, and they did a spooky festival within their residence hall, and it was super awesome and really fun.
And then some of our recent initiatives, obviously our communication current needs, raised in Parliament to administration. That's yours, ain't it?
So like the most recent thing that we did that was really big was we proposed a recommendation to administration to reopen Linden as meal plan optional. Just a little bit of background on that. We recognized a need within Towers to have a flexible option for students to choose to have or to not have a meal plan. So we were able to work with Dr. Pete England and the Department of Residence to propose a solution to that. And we worked with our parliament, and it's actually looks like it might be going down that path. So that was really cool to see. We also get to, since the director of dining and the vice president of campus life are our advisors, we have a super direct relationship from the students that live in residence halls to the administration to really hear out students' voices and their concerns.
And then the ways we serve our Cyclone community, we do the leadership through the leadership for like scholarships for our residents. Last year was the events scholarship. There was hall president scholarship and house president scholarship. We also go through room and board rates with Dr. Pete England. He has his team kind of come in and put a presentation together and present it to us. So like obviously like we kind of go through that. So their suggestion for you guys would be great if you could like, ever send it to us because direct contact is great. Then we do promotion of gift swap program because it's dining and we work with dining very closely. And then we also make recommendations to DOR to bring attention to students' concerns.
And then continuing, we've done a lot of partnerships with student government in the past, and we would love to continue to branch out and expand those partnerships. We are always open to partnering with different committees and senators to bring a direct positive change to the residence halls. Most recently, we worked with the Sustainability Committee to do a trick or trash event when we have so many Halloween events going on. So if you are ever interested, you can contact Brooke Wilson or the residence hall senators within student government. Visit our website, our Instagram, and then we're also very interested in partnering with you as well. So if you hear from us, you can put the face to the name and recognize us. We actually are hoping to bring back the Kilowatt Challenge, so that's something in the works as well. That then do you guys have any questions for us?
That's fair that you read mine since I read pretty yours.
Finance Director Zastro has a question.
I just kind of want to advocate for IRHA. I was a senator for them my sophomore year. IRHA as a body is super, super cool because it is like these low-level like decisions that really were senator representing IRHA. I was in my freshman year as well. We had a decision. You need to provide cable services. So if you're somebody who's passionate about just especially new students, how they experience Iowa State and how in their environment that they live in, I think that this is a really great thing with.
Vice Speaker Crab.
Hi, you spoke a little bit about your executive council, and I'm kind of just interested a little bit more of like what different positions do you have in those in the executive council, and yeah.
So on the executive council, there's obviously me and Ariana as president, vice president, but we also have a director of leadership, a director of finance, our director of communications, a national communications coordinator who does all of our conferences, and then 2 directors of events.
All right, seeing no further questions, thank you both. All right, next we'll move on to open forum. Open forum is an open discussion of issues relevant to students. Is there anyone here for open forum this evening? All right, seeing no one here for open forum, we'll go ahead and move on to adopting tonight's agenda. Is there any additions to tonight's agenda? Senator Wagmeister.
I move to put 2021 2-043F funding ISU Swim Club to the bottom of general orders.
There's been a motion to move funding ISU Swim Club to the bottom of general orders. Is there any discussion? All right. Oh, Senator Seth.
I'd just like to motion to add Senator Zuber to the roll.
Is there any objection to adding Senator Zuber to the roll? Seeing none, Senator Zuber has been added to the roll. All right, so there's a motion on the table still. Question has been called for and seconded. Any objection to voting now? We'll go ahead and go into a vote of moving funding ISU Swim Club to the top or to the bottom of general orders. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding that unanimously? All right, seeing none, it's been added to the bottom of general orders. Any other additions for tonight's agenda? Been a motion to adopt tonight's agenda and a second. All right, seeing no objections, tonight's agenda has been adopted. Moving on to the approval of minutes from last week. It's been a motion to withdraw. All right, Senator Seth.
I would like to motion to amend last week's minutes. I don't have them in front of me, but for the open forum, the name of the second person who spoke from Climate Reality and Open Forum was spelled incorrectly. I already told this to Trevor, so he already knows about it, but I just want to officially motion to change the spelling of the name.
All right, so there's been a motion and a second to amend someone's name on last week's minutes in open forum. Is this something we have to discuss? We can move into a discussion period on it. Question has been called for and seconded. Any objection? Voting now. All right, we'll go into a voting period for amending last week's minutes. Unanimous consent has been called for. Seeing no objections, we'll go ahead and amend last week's minutes. Now, approval of minutes as a whole. Question has been called for, seconded. Seeing no objections, we'll go ahead and go into a vote. Unanimous consent has been called for. Seeing no objections, last week's minutes have been approved. Moving on to committee reports, we'll start with rules with Speaker Weathers.
Hello, everybody. Rules met just yesterday, and we discussed 39Y, establishing the Smart Campaign Program. That got sent unfavorably by the committee. I won't use this time right now to talk about why. I think when the bill comes up, I can speak to why the committee sent that unfavorably, but I believe it was structural issues, issues with what election commission is designed to do, things like that. But we'll talk about that later. We also talked about be getting the annual report on student government contracts and agreements. So Rules Committee is tasked with annually reviewing all of the contracts that student government is a part of, specifically the language and the structure of those contracts. If you have any thoughts on any contracts that we're a part of, please reach out to me or anyone on Rules Committee. But we're going to begin that process and hopefully have that finished up before the semester's end. Working on scheduling the joint meeting between Rules and Finance Committee, where we're going to be looking at all of the rules that govern our finances. Please reach out to any involved parties if you have any thoughts on that, of course. And there's nothing else too pertinent that you won't see within the coming weeks. So thank you all.
Finance Committee with Finance Director Zastro.
Great meeting of finance yesterday. We looked at 4 bills. The Multicultural Greek Council bill was sent favorably with some amendments just to reflect items that they're no longer asking for. Swim Club is going to have first read waive tonight. That's because their event is this Saturday. And Esports Club so that was sent favorably with amendments. And Esports Club was also sent favorably with amendments just to adjust the length of the trip. You'll notice from last week's total to this week's total, there's a change in the Senate discretionary account. There's a little bit of an accounting issue. So the Senate discretionary account for the last couple weeks has looked like it's $4,000 higher than it was actually. When we got the intramural to COA for the SI budget bill, they did the transfer backwards. And so instead of taking 2,000 out, it put 2,000 in from the Senate discretionary account. We'll have a seating bill for the next finance senator up next Wednesday that we'll see. In Finance Committee, we are wrapping up P&C review. If you have any comments, please get them to us. We're also going to try and do something that we haven't done for at least the past few years, and that is add priorities into priorities and criteria. I have here, and I've scanned it and I'll send it out after the meeting, priorities and criteria from 2006, and it had some priorities at the beginning. I'm going to be asking all the committees to come up just briefly, if they could, spend 5 or 10 minutes on this, come up with a little list of priorities that they would like to their committee to have considered. In Finance Committee, and then of course Senate will be able to amend it as part of amending P&C. So just as an idea what that might look like, this is the 2006, so this would be FY 2008 priorities. So the priorities are those that promote and support the university mission, request that adds to the educational experience, those that encourage positive interaction between ISU students and the Ames community, those that further international or ethnic development or understanding at ISU, those that provide a service to ISU students in need, and those that provide ISU students with recreational competitive activities. As you're going into your committee, I would really appreciate it if you all could come with some forethought on what you want, as the interest of your committee, as the interest of a senator, these priorities to be. Because largely we've kind of operated ad hoc a lot of the times, and we've said, well, obviously the intention behind this rule, that's a specific rule, is something more general. I want to enumerate those general principles so we're able to point to, yes, maybe this does violate P&C, but here's where we can point to, this is a priority and this is what we care about, and that's why we're funding it the way that we are. So please take this seriously. I think that this is something that could stick around for as long as there is a student government in the future. I don't know when this was taken out or why. It was sometime between FY 2008 and FY 16. That's all I can tell you. But so I'm also going to be looking into trying to figure out when that happened. And my laptop fell asleep. I've been talking for too long, apparently. One last thing. If you are interested in the structure of student organizations on campus, please talk to me. I have some thoughts that we're going to be communicating. Sent a lengthy, rambling voice memo to President Campbell about this. So just if you're interested in kind of what the structure of clubs look like on campus from a student engagement perspective, sports club council perspective, what services do you think the university should be providing to clubs, and what should clubs be expecting from the university back? Please let me know. I think that we're going to get a group together to have some kind of productive conversations about that. Thank you.
All right, moving on to Director of Marketing Garmin for PR Committee.
Good evening, everyone. Firstly, I would just like to congratulate Senator Lent, who will be serving as our Vice Chair for PR. I'm sure you were, yeah. I'm sure it's kind of sounds like a broken record. Anne has done a very good job of letting you guys all know that the clothing order form will be closing tonight after the Senate meeting is closed. So if you have not done that, please fill out the form. And I think Anne or Senator Lent, you want money due to tonight as well. We plan on taking the order forms or the order next week to the place and hopefully get stuff to you guys, especially before Christmas break, but as soon as possible. You guys all got the newsletter this morning for October. It turned out really good. Just thank you to everyone that provided information or helped gather information. Already starting to prepare for the November one. So if you guys have any information about your events or things that your committee is working on that you want to be spotlighted in this, it goes out to over 700 students as well as all student government members. So it is a good way to inform not only other members of student government, but also the student body. And then the second multicultural town hall will be Monday the 15th. But whoever's, I don't know if Senator Adegarla is doing the next update, but I'll let her talk more about that. But thanks.
All right. Moving on to Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee with Vice Chair Adegarla.
Hi, everyone. So as Bryce stated earlier, the Multicultural Town Hall will be on Monday, November 12th in the Multicultural Center in the MU. And Dr. Toya Younger has offered to provide food for that event, so that's exciting. In other news regarding DEI, we had a conversation with Jalen Shell from the APEX program, and he provided great advice and insight with our projects. We also discussed the strong support for the MSA office to move to the Memorial Union. In addition, the Director of International Student Experience has begun a new project to connect international students to the Center of LGBTQIA+ for support while they're in the U.S. To ensure their identity is protected and celebrated. That's it.
Moving on to Student Initiatives Committee with Senator Advait.
Hello, everybody. Student Initiatives is currently in the process of reviewing its membership to ensure that we are in compliance with the obligations presented to us by Senate. Also, while on the topic of seats, we have 2 open Senate seats and 1 open at-large seat, so this is your big chance to break into the initiative world. Moving on, in terms of initiatives, the Safety Walk is coming up tomorrow at 7 p.m. Be there or be square. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to have free Jimmy John's. We're going to have free Gatorade. Campus administration officials are going to be present, so this is a great way to walk around campus and bring up concerns about safety, if you have any, and make sure they're heard by the individuals that have the most power to make a difference about it. Also, the daily is going to be there, so this is a great way for us to show the student body that student government cares about them and that we are putting our best foot forward in service of students. In terms of other events, the Access Review will be coming up about 2 weeks down the road from that. Point any questions to Senator Thornton for that. And then we're also making further progress on our pumpkin smashing event. Point all questions about that to Senator Hayes. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them right now. I yield.
All right. Moving to Civic Engagement with Senator Paulson.
Hi, I don't have any updates, but I will next week.
All right, moving on to comments. I don't believe Sophia is here tonight for the Student Government Advisor. We'll go ahead and go to comments from the Judicial Branch.
Hi, everyone. So I have 2 little updates I wanted to talk to everyone about. First off is, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, Dawson asked about the AG, and I have an update about them. So the AG, Alex McFadden, you saw him earlier this year, confirming him. He is currently focused, his main project is on the Iowa Open Records, Open Meetings chapters of the Iowa Code that we just codified with a bill a couple weeks ago. He's working on gathering information for presenting that to all you guys and really educating everyone in student government about the rules and regulations and obligations under that law. So that's primarily what he's focused on right now. My second update I wanted to talk to everyone about was the email I sent out to everyone on Monday. Under the bylaws, 2 senators can request an interpretation of student government law from the Supreme Court. And we did in fact have 2 senators request just such interpretation. So in order to answer that question, the court would like briefings from anyone interested that thinks they may have an opinion on that question and how to resolve it. If you do, write it up in a little document and send it to me, and the court will take it under consideration when attempting to answer the question at hand. Those will be due by the end of day Monday next week. So if you could get those in by then, that'd be awesome. Does anyone have any questions?
Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, I guess it would just be helpful if you had any particular format in mind for those briefings, if any senators want to submit anything.
The format's not too strict. There's a few things in the rules of the court that I don't have just at recall, but there's a few font requirements. So 12-point font, Times New Roman is at least one of them. There's Garamond is another option. Just use standard normal fonts. And other than that, there's nothing too strict. This is a new process for the Supreme Court, so that there's no real formalized exact method. Just get me a decently formatted document with a well thought out argument and you'll be golden.
I think that's good. Thank you. Keeps it less restrictive.
Does anyone else? Do you have some? I'll give it over to Election Commission Treasurer Krug.
This is quick. The Election Commission is working on election review. We've gotten through most of the chapters. There's about 3 chapters left to review. If you have any questions, let us know. Senate seat apportionment will be done in the next couple weeks. The Office of the Registrar has just released the information. We have to request it, and once we get that, we'll do the Webster's method of apportionment and get those to you.
All right, moving on to comments from the executive branch with President Campbell.
Hello and good evening. I've got a couple updates, mostly about meetings that have been taking place recently, and we're heading to the Board of Regents meeting tomorrow, where Megan and I are heading out after the meeting tonight, and we're going to head up to Cedar Falls. So a couple updates. On Monday, Vice President Decker and myself, we had our meeting with President Winterstein and GPSS. It was a great conversation, and a couple of the topics discussed was the joint city council meeting. President Winterstein, while catching up with emails over the weekend, informed us that she had gone back and watched the past 2 most recent Senate meetings, which is pretty cool. So know that they're watching, listening, they're really making that effort. So again, among that, we discussed 801 Day, some of the campus influencers that carry weight in that discussion, the Ames Climate Action Plan, topics for the Board of Regents and her role tomorrow and this week, and then also bringing mental health first aid to student government and students on campus. So a couple topics discussed there. Just recently, from 4 to 5 today, Senator Victoria and I came from the Athletics Department Student Advisory Council meeting. That was with Jamie Pollard. And just to share a positive note about athletics, for the past 18 years since Jamie Pollard has been here, they have not increased or asked for an increase in a student fee from students. So that's been really cool. We really appreciate their efforts to keep college affordability on that front. If anybody has questions, please let us know about that meeting. Board of Regents, I touched on this recently. The 3 primary topics we're discussing on behalf of University of Iowa, University of Northern Iowa, and Iowa State tomorrow are mental health, student employment on campus, and finally a tenant move-in checklist for students in Ames, Iowa City and Cedar Falls areas, as well as checking in on their progress regarding Juneteenth and recognizing it as an official holiday on campuses. Just as a shout out, I know he's not here, but to Director Poundstone, wanted to say thank you for his work and efforts on behalf of the City Council meeting and wrapping that up and bringing it to us last week. I'm going to touch on the Police Department Advisory Board meeting. If you are in this room and you were at this meeting last night at the Communications Building, would you raise your hand? So please feel free. I know Advait was there as well. But at this time, so if you have any questions about how those meetings look, I know that some members can fluctuate in and out, but if anybody has questions about the structure, format, please feel free to reach out to myself or any of those individuals. At a high level, we discussed Chief Newton's role after the game against Oklahoma State and what that looked like when fans stormed the field. Again, we have a priority to keep everyone safe, including the visiting team, and that was something that the Big 12 looked at, how good of a job we did as a university, and that was important. We discussed maybe what the upcoming Saturday game will look like with Texas leaving the Big 12 and any feelings from students in the student section. campus safety walk, staffing shortages within the police department, and then also mental health. Had a great conversation with their mental health advocate, and Zeb and Zosha were there as well. Very quick, 2 final updates. Director of Health and Wellness, Mary Lawson, Vice President Decker and I had met with Aaron Baldwin on Friday. We had a great hour-long discussion about ways we can support and continue to support student health and wellness. So a couple things are coming out of that Mary's working on, and I'll include those in the executive update that goes out in the email. And my last point, if there's one thing that you take away from my update tonight, is that I ask that you all complete a survey that will be included in tonight's email. This is a request as a committee established by Faculty Senate and the Provost's Office. The U.S. Diversity Requirements Ad Hoc Committee is doing the feasibility implementation study of what it would look like to bring 4 new objectives to campus for U.S. diversity credits. It's a survey asking maybe students' perspectives on how many of those credits or course objectives should be required for a class to be listed. Currently, 3 of the 4 are required, but there is talk that it could be a different number. So we'll collect thoughts on that. I apologize for the long update. Are there any questions? Thank you.
All right, moving on to external matters, general orders 2021-2-038F, funding gaming and esports club with Senator Zuber.
Would the representative like to approach the podium and tell us about the funding?
Hello. We are requesting funding for entry fees to the one of the esports event in Chicago. It's called the Lakeside Showdown. Government body will be providing for the entry fees for our Overwatch team. We are going to provide pictures and stuff to promote, show that we were given the opportunity by the student government, and use those pictures and publish an article or something to promote the club, promote student government.
And also an explanation on the Finance Committee amendments. When I first wrote the bill, I only included the cost of travel to Chicago, not back, but we have to get them home as well, so I doubled those.
Motion to adopt the Finance Committee amendments. We'll go ahead and go into a discussion period on those. Question has been called for and seconded. Any objection to voting now? All right, we'll go ahead and go into a voting period on the amendments. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding the amendments unanimously? Right. Amendment's been added. Back on the main motion. Senator Seth.
Hi, thank you for being here tonight. I just wanted to ask, sorry, my voice was cracked. What exactly, so you're going to the Lakeside Showdown. Can you just explain a little bit more about what you'll be doing there, what you'll be competing for? I don't know very much about esports, I'm sorry.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the Lakeside Showdown is going to be, it's sponsored for Overwatch and Valorant, some of the semi-more popular esports on campus. There we're going to be traveling overnight, staying at a Airbnb, and then moving to the competition. I'm not quite sure on the formatting, but it's normally a tournament style, similar to what you would see in a traditional sporting event where 2 teams face each other, winner moves on in the tournament, loser falls to the loser's bracket. It should be a day-long event, and then with payout at the end going 100% to the players. And then after that, we'll pack up and leave, go home, come back to Ames that night.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the brief explanation. Sorry, I don't know anything. That sounds really exciting and really fun. So.
And we hope to bring an experience back we're going to be taking videos, taking pictures. Senator Zuber and I have already discussed trying to get that information because it is a up-and-coming thing for the colleges and organizations that esports is sort of on the rise, and I want to help you, all of you guys, to sort of understand a little bit more into the esports org.
Yeah, those sound like great initiatives. One, just competing, and two, using it as publicity to talk about esports, because obviously I feel like I'm not the only one that doesn't know anything about esports. You can tell me if I'm wrong later. But yeah, so this sounds like a great event, and I'm in full support. I will yield.
Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a motion to add senators who arrived late. I know Simmons and Stout have arrived late. Has anyone else arrived who was not on the roll earlier? Okay, I move to add Senator Simmons and Stout to the roll.
All right. Seeing no objections, Senator Stout and Senator Simmons have been added to the roll. Back on the motion, Senator Strickland.
Yeah, so, sorry. I know with a lot of esports events that are like more professional, there's like a stream or some way to watch live. Is that going to be happening here so we can cheer on the Cyclones, or?
If there is one, we will be giving that out through our Discord and through other means if possible. I believe it is probably sponsored through Ignite, which is the company that it is. The Ignite, it's like an esports/gaming facility that they have in Chicago, where the event is going to be taking place at. Once the stream, it'll probably be streamed on Twitch TV, which is a pretty popular streaming site, and we'll give that information out as soon as we have it available to us.
I was going to say, is that something we could push to, like, do you guys have social media accounts or anything you can get the word out to?
Absolutely. We have a PR chair in our club that we can definitely push it out to the socials.
Well, good luck. Bring it home.
Thank you. Thank you.
Senator Larson.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, is this your first tournament you're participating in? Do you, like, in past years, have you participated in tournaments, and have you ever gone to this tournament before?
So in order, this is not my first tournament that I have participated in for the club. This is the first tournament that we are going for the Lakeside Showdown. In previous, we went to the Heartland Showdown, hosted by Kansas State University. It was a phenomenal time there. Hopefully it's a little less scuffed, but that's besides the point. Sorry, did I miss one of your questions?
I think that was it, and my brother's actually been in this tournament before with his esports school, and they did really well, so good luck.
Thank you, thank you.
Senator Litt.
Hi, I don't think I got all of the details on this. You were saying something about there being a payout from the tournament and that going directly back to the students. Could you talk about what that looks like?
Yeah, so I believe most tournaments like this will function as the first, second, and potentially third place of the tournament. It's probably a 16 or 8 team bracket, and then the first place team, second place team, but potentially third place team will receive a portion of the entry fee prize money. 100% goes back to the players themselves, as will be like the esports org will be fronting some of the money. I'm not quite sure how that works with student government, if you guys want to like get some of the stuff as well. But most time when we do it, it's 100% back to the players because they're the ones doing all the work.
Senator Strickland. Question has been called for. You can just abstain. Okay. Question has been called for. Okay. Back on discussion. Speaker Weathers.
The reason for the hesitation, I believe people are curious as to whether or not getting any sort of payout for the players or members of the team. Yeah, Finance Director Zastro, if that brings up any complications. I don't think it does, but
no, I don't think it does. There are a lot of competitions that orgs go to. I couldn't tell you how many of them students are able to get personal payouts for winning. And if this is going back to the club, I don't have any problem with that. For like Sports Club Council, there are 47 orgs. Almost all of them probably get. I'm sorry.
it goes back to the players themselves, not the club.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, I can't think of any particular holdup for that either. Call to question.
Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now? We'll go ahead and go into closing comments with Senator Zuber. No closing comments. We'll go ahead and go into a voting period. This is going to be a roll call vote since this is a finance bill. Please say yes, no, or abstain once I say your name. Advait. Yes. Adegarla. Ulrich. Yes. Brecht. Blythe. Carter. Claiborne. Crab. Filippi. Finaldi. Goff. Hayes. Larson. Lent. Mahoney. Rios. Oh, just kidding. McCready. Patel. Paulson. Risvik. Ruley. Seth. Sayaway. Simmons. Skaggs. Oh, Stout. Strickland. Thornton. Wagmeister. Weathers. Zuber. Of a vote of 25 to 2, the bill passes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 2021-2-042F, funding the Multicultural Greek Council with Senator Claiborne.
If the representatives from the Multicultural Greek Council want to come up.
Cool. Hi, everyone. So just talking about this multicultural student forum real quick. It's going to be the very first one we're going to host. So we're trying to collaborate with all the different multicultural orgs here on campus. And it's going to be a formal event where we're going to serve dinner. So we're trying to request funding to fund the food and also as well as fund the equipment that we need to rent as well. So things such as tables, chairs, and podium and speakers.
Vice Speaker Crab.
Hi, Scott. Could you tell us a little bit more about the event, like where it's going to be, what time, all that jazz?
Yeah, so we're planning for it to be on December 4th. It's a Saturday from 6 to 9 p.m. in the StuGov atrium.
Speaker Weathers.
Either for the representative or anyone on Finance Committee, what exactly is the multicultural food that's being offered at the event?
Oh, so we're trying to get catering. Rosemary, remember where it was? Was it Hy-Vee?
Are working on figuring out
Yeah.
details that we want to provide multicultural food for our multicultural food.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure that it actually is multicultural food. So.
Senator Hayes.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I don't know, I heard about this bill a little bit ago. I was under the impression that like Toya Younger's office was paying for some of that. Is that still true?
This is a different bill.
This is a different bill? Okay, never mind, thank you. Just clarifying.
Senator Ruley.
I move to adopt the Finance Committee amendments.
In a motion to adopt the Finance Committee amendments, go ahead and go into a discussion period on those.
Yeah, I'll explain a little bit about what's going on here. So the programming fee is being covered so that we are not funding anymore. The multicultural food expenses is going down from $940 to $400, as that is the amount that was calculated. I believe this is a new event, so it's 8 times 2 times the amount of student government amount of members in the organization, and that's the total members of everyone in MGC. And then formal table and chair rentals, that was left the same. So I'll call a question.
Question has been called for and seconded. We'll go ahead and go into a voting period on the Finance Committee amendments. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding the Finance Committee amendments unanimously? All right, the Finance Committee amendments have been added back on the main motion. Senator Claiborne.
I move to amend the amendments that we just passed. I move to amend the amount requested from student government for the multicultural food expenses to increase to $496, and then the paid by organization would be decreased to $444, and then the total for all of that would be $636 requested from student government in the table and in the enacted clause. At the time that they came to the Finance Committee, they had 25 members, but our PNC says that we can fund final, and final is Senate meeting, and they increase to 31 members.
Great. There's been a motion that's reflected on the screen. In a second, we'll go ahead and go into discussion period on those. Question has been called for and seconded. We'll go ahead and go into a voting period. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding the amendments reflected on the screen unanimously? Great. Amendment's been added back on the main motion. Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, question for Senator Claiborne. So are all of the vote totals now accurate? Does the paid for by organization total go down at all?
Yes, that would also go down to 444, but I can take that as a friendly.
Does the chair accept that as friendly? Okay.
Yes. All right, is there any more discussion on the bill? Question has been called for and seconded. Any objection to voting now? We'll go ahead and go into closing comments with Senator Claiborne. No closing comments. We'll go ahead and go into a roll call vote here since this is a finance bill. Please say yes, no, or abstain once I say your name. Advait. Yes. Adagarla. Ulrich. Yes. Brecht. Blythe.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Claiborne.
Yes.
Crab. Yes. Filippi. Yes. Finaldi. Yes. Goff. Yes. Hayes. Yes. Larson. Yes. Lent. Yes. Mahoney. Yes. McCready. Yes. Patel. Yes. Paulson. Yes. Risvik. Yes. Ruley. Yes. Seth. Yes. Sayaway. Yes. Simmons. Yes. Stout. Yes. Strickland. Yes. Morton. Yes. Wagmeister. Yes. Weathers. Yes. Zuber. Yes. Of a vote of 29 to 0, the bill passes.
Thank you, guys.
Moving on to 2021-2-043F, funding ISU Swim Club with Senator Wagmeister.
If the representative wants to go on up to the podium. And go ahead and just explain about the funding request.
All right, the swim club is attending a swim meet in Madison, Wisconsin from the November 5th through 7th this weekend. And we have more members than we additionally budgeted for. And we need to take an extra Suburban, so we're requesting funding for that, as well as additional funding for our meet registration fees.
All right, are there any questions, discussion on the bill? Senator Ruley.
I move to waive first read.
And a motion to waive first read. Is there any objection to waiving first read on the bill? All right. Seeing none, we're going to waive first read. We're back on the motion. Speaker Weathers.
Sorry, point of order. I think we go into a period of discussion on
Okay,
that.
we'll discuss, excuse me, we'll go back and discuss waiving first read. So we're on discussion period for that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just asking why. Why we're waiving first read on this again? Maybe I missed it. My
Senator
apologies.
Ruley.
Yeah, the competition's coming up. It's between now and the next Senate meeting.
Okay.
So wanted to get the funding in before the next Senate meeting since we couldn't do it if it's at the next Senate meeting.
Okay, I guess I'm curious as to the particular reason as to why it's so rushed, why the club was unable to come in earlier. I don't think it's anyone, I'm not blaming you or anything, I'm just curious. Finance Director Zastro.
Yeah, they emailed me last Friday asking for funding, and I didn't see it until Monday morning.
Okay, thank you.
They already had part of it budgeted too, and they're just adding another vehicle to it as well. So it was already in their budget, and then they had more members than they were anticipating as well.
Did you call the question? And there's been a call to question in a second. Any objection to voting now? Any closing comments, Senator Wagmeister? All right. Yes. Okay. So we'll go ahead and go into voting period on waiving first read. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to waiving first read? All right. First wave has been gone. Now we're going on the main motion now. Question has been called for and seconded. Do withdraw. Senator Ruley.
Move to adopt the Finance Committee amendments.
There's been a motion to adopt the Finance Committee amendments. We'll go ahead and go into discussion period on that.
Yep.
Do you withdraw?
I just wanted to explain it just so we have it on the minutes. They're adding additional funding for registration, and then that's updating the totals. So I called question.
There's been a call to question on the Finance Committee amendments. Is there a second? All right. Go ahead and go into a voting period. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding the Finance Committee amendments unanimously? All right, Finance Committee amendments have been added. Back on the main motion, Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, I move to amend the first whereas clause to add the words "the club" before it requires.
All right, there's been an amendment proposed. It's reflected on the screen. Is there a second? We'll go ahead and go into a discussion period on that.
Called.
Question has been called for and seconded. Any objection to voting? All right, we'll go into a voting period on the amendment. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding the amendment unanimously? Seeing none, then it's been added. Senator Rulli.
I guess this is more of a question for Finance Director Zastro. I see that they're taking Suburban, which is about 10 cents per mile higher than minivan or maxi van that's being typically would we fund a maxi van at this for this since it's at a lower rate and we fund at the lowest possible rate for I'm just clarifying.
Sorry, how much is the Suburban per mile?
It says 0.63.
Oh. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, if you want to change that to a maxi van, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay. I will make an amendment to change the Suburban to a maxi van and then change the cost to 0.53 and then update all totals accordingly.
There's been a motion, a second reflected on the screen. We'll go ahead and go into a discussion period on that.
Yeah, so according to our PNC, we fund at the rate of, let me pull it up distinctly. We fund at the lowest possible rate. I kind of explained it. If you have any questions about that, I can take them now while I pull up PNC.
Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, Max, is that spelled right, or anyone from Finance Committee? Sorry. Okay, thank you.
All right, we're still in discussion period for the amendment. Finance Director Zastro.
Sorry, given that this is just a few days before the event, are there 3 people in your organization who are accurately trained to drive maxi vans?
Yeah, we have 6 trained drivers.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Senator Litt.
I guess I don't really know the difference between a Suburban and a maxi van. Do they hold the same amount of people? Like, are we sure we have the right capacity for their members?
Yes, I'm pulling up the vehicle rates right now. Oh gosh, it's so small. Maxi vans hold 15 passengers. They're at a rate of 0.53, and I believe the Suburbans hold less. So that is what that is. And we fund the larger ones at 0.53.
Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, how does changing, I haven't done the math, but I assume this changes the total then, right, for fuel cost? Do you have the number for that? I yield in the meantime.
Right, Senator Hayes.
Yeah, just again with this car change, are we sure that like it's going to hold like all the do you guys need like equipment or anything that you're going to take down to Madison?
I mean, we're going to be staying a few days, so everyone's going to have all their like luggage as well as their swim equipment. But I think with 2 15-passenger vans and the maxi van, I think we should have enough space there.
Okay, so there's no concerns on your end about capacity or about anything with traveling?
With the addition of the maxi van, I think we should be totally fine.
Sweet.
Finance Director Zastro.
Maxi van is bigger than a Suburban. It's larger, but it costs less.
Senator Litt.
I don't know if I'm just really confused right now. If you're taking 9 people,
29.
29?
Yes.
Gotcha. That makes so much more sense. Thank you.
All right. So, question has been called for. Is there a second? All right. We'll go ahead and go into voting. We're voting on the amendment. The amendment that's reflected on the screen, and then changing the totals based on the differences. We're going into a voting period on that. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding the amendment reflected on the screen unanimously? All right, seeing none, the amendment's been added. The numbers will be changed back on the main motion. Is there any more discussion of the bill? Senator Seth.
Could you just tell the body, I guess this is to you, could you just tell the body a little bit about, I guess, like, what is going to happen at the competition? Like, how many races are you swimming? Like, I guess just like maybe describe it.
Yeah, so there's going to be races Friday.
1 second, state your point. Who said germane? Senator Litt. Why is it germane? Not germane. It's still related to what they'd be using it for, so continue. Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, so basically I think we'll swim Friday night, Saturday morning, and Saturday evening, and then stay Saturday night into Sunday morning and leave Sunday morning to be back here. I think each swimmer can swim a maximum of 4 individual events and 2 relays per day. Not everybody's obviously going to do that. People are going to pick and choose their events as they please. I'm not quite sure how many other teams are going to be there. For sure us and UW-Madison, and I'm sure a few other clubs are going to be there, and just a swim meet in essence. Was I clear enough? Any other questions?
Yeah,
you have?
that's clear. I was just curious to hear more about what the event was. Thank you. I yield.
Question has been called for. Did you object? What's your point? Did you withdraw your Speaker Weathers? Senator Rulli, what's up?
Would you take as a friendly to update the totals accordingly on the
Yes.
document? Thank you.
All right, question has been called for and seconded. Any objection to voting now? We'll go ahead and go into closing comments. Senator Wagmeister, no closing comments. We'll do a roll call vote since this is a finance bill. Please vote yes, no, or abstain. Advait. Yes. Adegarla. Yes. Ulrich. Yes. Brecht. Yes. Blythe. Yes. Carter. Yes. Claiborne. Yes. Cooper. Crabb. Yes. DeVore. Filippi. Yes. Finaldi. Goff. Yes. Hayes. Yes. Larson. Yes. Lent. Yes. Mahoney.
Yeah.
McCready.
Yes.
Patel.
Yes.
Paulson. Yes. Rizvik. Yes. Rulli.
Yes.
Seth.
Yes.
Sayaway.
Yes.
Simmons. Stout.
Yes.
Strickland. Yes. Thornton. Yes. Wagmeister.
Yes.
Weathers. Zuber. Yes. All right, of a vote of 28 to 0 to 1, the bill passes.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and go into internal matter special orders 2021-2-029 SC, confirming nominee for the ad hoc deputy director of information technology with Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, in a moment I will yield my time to Director Khan, but if the nominee would like to approach the podium. I know this is an ad hoc position that was created by President Campbell. Basically, when IT Director Khan leaves, we'll have a massive void. You saw a similar bill to this a few weeks ago, but that got withdrawn because the candidate withdrew, so I encourage you to ask questions of them. But in the meantime, I yield to IT Director Khan.
Hello. Just to sort of explain the position further, it's more of sort of like a learn on the job type of deal. As Dawson stated, I am graduating next semester, and therefore I'm going to need someone as my replacement. And I just recall when I took on Director of IT after Shabam was leaving, there was a transition document, but I did spend a good chunk of my summer furiously texting Shabam asking for all the ins and outs of the website. And I figured just to make that transition process a lot more easier, if I had someone who would be able to know the ins and outs of the website, that'd be beneficial for such things. And obviously I'll let the candidates speak for themselves. However, I'm sure you'll come to learn that they are eminently qualified. But also keep in mind that this is a learning position, so what they may not know now, they'll definitely learn in the future. Thank you.
So if you just want to say a little bit about your qualifications, and we'll ask you a couple questions.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zeke. You can also call me Elson, and I'm a sophomore year student majoring in computer science.
Senator Paulson.
Hi, I was just wondering what made you interested in this position?
I have already been looking to join the student government before this, but 2 weeks before this, I received an email from the director of IT, and he stated that he's looking for someone to take up the deputy of IT position, so I just replied that email.
Senator Hayes.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a little bit more information about like some of your qualifications and like what makes you, interested in this type of stuff, or do you have like backgrounds like working in IT and stuff like that?
I have learned to code in Java and Python, and I have also previously coded in CSS and HTML before.
Senator Ulrich.
So when Director Khan does graduate, would, upon approval and confirmation, would Elson have to be reapproved by the Senate to become the Director of IT? Or would he just kind of assume?
Is that a question to me? You were looking at me.
I guess I was just kind of looking, but anyone?
President Campbell would be the one to ask for this one, so would you yield your time to her?
Yes.
Great question. This was a conversation that we had when we sat down to talk, that this role here with the mentorship from Director Khan would really put Elson in a position to be highly qualified to step into this role based on, number one, his interest in applying for that position when it would come up, and also the next executive slate's extension of that offer. So it would be a two-way street, but we did talk about how what this role does is it allows him to have that intimate knowledge of the role and the ins and outs there. So it would not be a guarantee, but rather we talked about, number one, again, his interest in it down the road, but also a mutual interest for both parties.
Thank you. I yield.
Senator Strickland.
So when Elson graduates eventually at some point in time, okay, so let's fast forward. He gets nominated and confirmed to the Senate, to the seat. Is somebody else going to take up this job that he's currently being proposed to take? Is it kind of a step in, step out type deal?
President Campbell, if you want to answer that again, would you yield your time? Or, Director Khan can too.
Sure. Seeing as it is an ad hoc position, it's kind of an as-needed sort of thing. It's just personally for me, in terms of how I envision the transition process to go, it's just a lot more helpful if we do have it along the lines. However, I do have plans to sort of make a transition document that is a bit more verbose. And so maybe that could lead to like a more thorough transition process that doesn't require a deputy of IT position. However, just for the time being, I think this would be very helpful for now. But given that it is an ad hoc, it's not necessarily like that we have one at all times.
Question has been called for and seconded. Any objection to voting now? Do we have any closing comments? Nope. Okay. We'll go ahead and go into a voting period. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to confirming the nominee for Deputy Director of IT unanimously? Great. Seeing no objections, congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving on to 2021-2-027 SC, confirming a nominee for Director of Marketing with Speaker Weathers.
Okay, so since Bryce was acting as the ad hoc director of marketing, and we have now officially codified the position, he has had to resign from that position and take the real position, or at least the position that's codified in the bylaws. I guess I've seen Bryce's work. He seems qualified to do what he's doing already. But if any of you have questions for him, I think this is still an apt time to ask them.
Senator Lunt.
Yeah, what are your goals for this position?
As I stated back in April, my goals are to keep our social media up and running with graphics that are relevant to student government and student government hosted events. Just marketing student government in a positive, efficient way so the student body is aware of the projects and things that we are working on and that we do not seem scary and we want people to come and be involved.
Thank you. You seem eminently qualified. I hope everyone votes yes.
Senator Debate.
On a scale of 1 to 11, how excited are you to be a voting member of PR committee?
11.
All right, question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now? Any closing comments? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and go into a voting period. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to confirming the Director of Marketing unanimously? All right, seeing none. Congrats, Bryce.
Thank you. (2021-2-028) updating Student Initiative C assignments to reflect facts on the ground and better represent member participation in the functioning of the committee with Senator Debate.
Hey everybody, this bill essentially ensures that Student Initiatives Committee and its members are in compliance with the obligations presented to it by Senate. To this end, I would like to make an amendment to switch out the first order clause to contain the name of a member, as shown on screen.
Right, there's been an amendment proposed reflected on the screen. I'll give it a second. Is there a second? Right, we'll go ahead and go into discussion period on that. Do you object? All right, we'll go ahead and go into a voting period. We'll go on the amendment. Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to adding the amendment unanimously? All right, seeing none, the amendment's been added. Back on the main motion.
All right, so if you have any questions about the bill, please let me know. But other than that, here's the sort of to delve into the reasoning for this. The member in question has been to 0 meetings this semester. We've had notifications for 1 or 2. The rest of those have been no-shows. We have been trying to get in contact, but our offers to set up a meeting and talk through their situation we've not been taken up on those. And further, just last week, after they expressed that they were having trouble making it to our committee meetings and offered to get them in touch with other committee chairs so we could find them a committee that perhaps worked better for their schedule, was also met with no response. They were notified of this bill coming up in Senate tonight, and they were told that they could speak in their defense. I also let them know that if they could not make this time, I'd be more than happy to work with them to work out a better time, and as always, meet with them before that to make sure this process would never have to come to fruition. I yield.
Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Debate. You said you reached out to them and you weren't able to get any response at all, correct? Yeah, I'm asking you.
We did get one response simply laying down a list of reasons and seemingly implying a group of reasons, saying that they would not be able to attend any other meetings of the committee as well, but that was the extent of the response. The same email that they responded to contained an offer to set up a meeting, which was not responded to as well. Okay. So we are getting responses, just not anything constructive, it would seem.
Okay. A question to Senator Hayes then, as vice chair of the committee. Is it correct then you haven't seen this member attend any of the committees?
No, they have not been there.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Thornton?
So you mentioned that this person said that there were many reasons why they would no longer be able to come. Could you not have just viewed that as a withdrawal?
They said they would like to be more involved in the committee, but that circumstances were making it so that they couldn't, and the circumstance that they spoke about was the bus not running on Sundays, which is when we have meetings. So in that sense, they are expressing an intent to participate in the committee, but not acting on it.
So then one of the reasons why this particular member wasn't able to come, in addition to many of our members no longer being able to come regularly, is that we hold it on Sundays now instead of Tuesdays.
I would say there's also subcommittee meetings that they could attend. There's committee events that they could participate in. There's another member that cannot make our meetings. However, they have been in regular contact with me, and we've set up meetings on Mondays or Wednesdays when they are free, so I can go over the committee and I can tell them what we have going on and have them participate in our events. The same offer was made to this member, and they have not been as forthcoming, and they have not expressed desire to take us up on that.
Because they said that they weren't able to continue coming. I don't understand why you couldn't have viewed that as a withdrawal from the committee instead of having to write this bill.
I suppose this is just me being safe and not wanting to make assumptions in a way.
Okay, I'm done.
Question has been called for. Is there an objection? Right, Senator Ridzik?
Senator Ridway, have you looked at maybe alternatives for getting that member to the SI committee meetings? Like, have you reached out to other committee members so that way they could get them to the meeting, or?
I specifically sent the member in question an email asking them if I would like to send them contact information for other committee chairs so they could participate in student government in a manner more conducive to their schedule. I was not, that part of the email was never responded to.
Okay, so no, like, other transportation, like, options was, like, organized or, like, considered to, like, help them get to the meetings?
Could you elaborate, like what?
Like, I guess if the issue was that they couldn't make the meetings on Sundays because the bus doesn't run, have you talked to other committee members to help them, maybe get together?
I think the issue at hand is that none of this came to the forefront until they were sent emails about a week ago. There's been all of our meetings this semester that we've ran through. We never received any notifications for those excused absences. I never even received an email asking for an excused absence. So in a sense, it's been a string of no-shows. And the reason why I believe that is unfair, it's unfair in four ways. It's unfair to Senate because Senate deserves a committee working at the full strength and with the full powers the committee has been given. It's unfair to our current members because when members don't show up without any notification, we can't meet, let's say we can't meet quorum. That's our current members having to show up to a meeting that we can't have official actions happen at. So it's disrespecting the times of our current members. It's also unfair to our current members because we still have the same workload but lesser members being active, which means our current members have to take up more on their plates, which means it's more burnout for them, more tasks for them to take onto themselves. And lastly, it's also unfair to other applicants because there's other people that have filled out the form that want to be part of student initiatives that cannot be on the committee.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
I yield.
Vice Speaker Crabb, excuse me.
All right, I have a question posed to Speaker Weathers. So I guess your understanding of committees, especially Senate committees, especially SI and the way it works, is there ways that maybe a person can still be part of the committee, and since it is an initiative-driven committee and they wanted to work on initiatives maybe by themselves or maybe specifically with Senator Debate, do you think that is a possibility for that committee?
I guess if that's the question posed to me, being on a committee it comes with particular responsibilities. I don't think and of course, I think Senator Debate is right that they are failing to live up to these responsibilities. Although I think that's also correct to say that not being on the committee, being removed from this committee, doesn't preclude them from being involved in student initiatives, from helping the campus, from doing things that are more accessible to them, I suppose, if that's what you're asking.
I guess in specifics, the way that I ran outreach ambassadors last year, and actually Senator Vore was on my committee for that. What we did is, since there's these possibilities with really small committees and really large committees, where I met with them individually to work on individual outreach projects that they were interested in. I think that is a possibility, and it still allows for this member to be on student initiatives since they are interested, but just can't make it because of accessibility reasons. So I yield.
Senator Seth?
So I'd like to pose a question to Senator Debate. Just to clarify, the reasoning behind why you are writing this bill to have this person's membership on SI committee essentially relinquished is because the individual in question was having difficulty getting to meetings, but your main complaint is that they didn't inform you until last week. So it was kind of like they weren't communicating with you at all about the fact that they weren't able to attend meetings due to accessibility issues?
I don't believe there's accessibility issues at play in the writing of this bill. It has to do more with upholding committee obligations that every other member on the committee has been, not attending a single meeting for this semester, and we're well into the semester at this point and not having any notification whatsoever in that front. And on top of that, while having the option to participate, this member in question is on all of our group chats, all of our subcommittee group chats, having had no engagement even through text or even any participation in those events outside of the meeting, which is only a small part of what Student Initiatives does. We're an initiative committee, so you can participate in initiatives even if you cannot make it to a meeting. I yield.
Yeah, so I'll just throw in a little 2 cents here. I am the administrator in, I think, three? I don't remember anymore. Like 3 group me's in SI committee, and the individual in question it was added to at least 2 of those, and at no point in time has this individual interacted with any of the messages sent in those group chats, nor have they responded to any of them. So that is something to consider as well when you are deciding how you want to vote on this bill. So I yield.
Senator Thornton?
I think if we're going off the basis of attendance, then we should consider the fact that our committee never has more than 6 or 7 people showing up every week. Whether or not that's excused or not, there are people who have repetitive excused absence every week. So we should keep that in mind when judging on if this person should or should not remain on the committee. Again, if you had been informed that this person couldn't make it because it was a Sunday and they don't have transportation to the Memorial Union, I think that one of your duties as director is to try to find a solution to that, whether it's bringing it to the attention of all of the committee members and saying, hey, is there a way that we can make sure that this person can carpool or walk with you to the Memorial Union, or maybe moving the meeting location outside of the Memorial Union. There are failures of communication on both ends, and it is not just on this one person. And I just wanted to make sure that was brought to light. And I think the argument of saying this person hasn't been to a single meeting is got a huge fallacy in it, considering that there are many people, senators and at-larges alike, that I rarely see at our meetings, but are still considered members, and they are not on this bill.
Senator Hayes?
Senator Advey, could you help me find the attendance for our meetings just online? Is that listed online, or do you have that anywhere?
I do have an Excel sheet in front of me right now.
Okay.
That I'd be happy to show you. Other than that, the attendance is listed on of our. It should be at the beginning of all of our committee agendas / slides. But to answer the questions that have been brought up, yes, we have had at least 2 senators that have not been able to make any of our meetings. I've spoken to them. They've taken up my offer to start a conversation, and we came to the determination that their schedules, and more importantly, they had other committees that they were more involved with, so student initiatives was not a good fit for them, and they voluntarily left the committee. The same conversation has been had with an at-large. This just happens to be an individual that has been refusing to engage in any conversations. I would like to remind you that this process started off with me reaching to the at-large and asking them if they would like to meet up with me or talk to me in any way convenient to them. That includes a Zoom call or a WebEx call that they can take from the comfort of their home. I just had a meeting with an at-large earlier today to discuss their situation, and we came to an agreement that worked best for them. This at-large has not even responded to those requests, the part of the email asking them if they would like to do that, I guess, if that makes sense. I do understand if you have concerns that are issues that are stopping you from attending committee meetings or really participating in any functioning of a committee whatsoever. But I do still believe if a chair reaches out to you, having an online WebEx meeting is not much of a burden. So you can at least explain your situation, and we can understand and have a human-to-human interaction to sort of get to the root of the problem and see how we can help them.
Okay. Additionally, some of the bus routes do run on Sundays. So I don't know. I feel like there's not that many excuses for not showing up repeatedly. And, just to echo again, like if someone was wanting to participate, it seems like they have the ability to. And if people haven't been willing to, then they've been active in withdrawing in order to better the committee. Sometimes if that's what you have available to do, leaving the committee can be beneficial as well. If in cases of repeated absences. So yeah, thank you.
Senator Rizvik.
Senator Advait, could you walk us through what the attendance policy is for at-larges, and then what the procedure is each time they don't make it to a meeting?
So the attendance policy is there. It really isn't codified as well for at-larges. If anyone knows better than me, please correct me. Yeah, we have a codified attendance policy for senators, and I've been trying to hold that consistent with at-larges somewhat. For Senate, did you ask about at-larges specifically? Yep, it is not codified anywhere, but I think not attending any meeting a semester and would at least call for reaching out to the at-larges and setting up a conversation and not participating in any initiatives or committee functions either.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Mahoney.
I'd just like to point out we've been hyper-focusing, I think, on the meeting attendance when there's a larger issue here at play that they have not been part of the other components of Student Initiatives Committee, like our events, like our group chats. They've been a non-active member wholly, despite Avate's attempts to reach out, to set up outside meetings, to set up other meetings. So the hyper-focusing on this attendance at the meeting, while there may be a discussion for another time, I don't think is the singular reason why this member in question is being up for removal or relinquishment here tonight. So I just want to throw that out there, that there's more issues than just attendance here at a specific time on a specific Sunday.
Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and go to closing comments. Yeah, I was going to that. All right, closing comments with Senator Advait.
I would like to point out to Senate that being on a committee or not being on a committee is not a permanent state of existence. I just had a conversation with an at-large earlier today who informed me that due to certain personal happenings to them, they would be unable to participate in the functioning of the committee for the next few weeks, at least through the end of Thanksgiving break, which would essentially preclude them from taking part in any of our projects for this semester. We both came to the conclusion that it was best for them to temporarily be taken off the committee so we could add another at-large to help with the pretty significant, honestly, workload that the committee does have. And we came to the understanding that once we came to next semester, we'd be looking at adding them back, because people's schedules change, people leave the committee, people are added onto the committee as vacancies open, and I would be more than open to do that with any at-large that needs it. I just think it's best to have the current seat assignment on the committee reflect member participation. And to answer a question that came up earlier, because there aren't any codified standards for at-larges, I've been setting up my own objective standards, so nothing is subjective. Individuals normally get an email once their participation rate drops, once they've missed more than 75% of our meetings, or they have not been active in any of our initiatives, which I believe is a very accommodating and a very understanding approach to have. Even after that, we reach out to start a conversation, to sort of understand where they're at, to see how we can help, how we can accommodate, how we can have them participate, even if, for example, they cannot make meetings. Some of our at-larges have already taken us up on that. So I would like Senate to keep all of that in mind as we're voting. I yield.
We'll go ahead and go into a voting period. We'll do a placard vote for this one. Please vote yes, no, or abstain. Begin with yeses. Noes. All right, any abstentions? With a vote of 24 to 1 to 4, the bill passes. All right, moving on to 2021 General Orders 2021-2-0. 39Y, establishing the Smart Campaign Program with Speaker Weathers.
Okay. Although I'm not the author of this bill, in actuality, this will be the only time I get to speak according to our rules of debate, so I'm going to use this time now, and then I'll yield to the actual authors, if you will all permit me. So Rules Committee saw this, and we had a pretty thorough debate about it. It probably took up at least probably an hour of our meeting. The debate was incredibly thorough, and I'm sure the members of Rules Committee will be happy to enlighten you on what happened, or I believe the minutes are accessible. But I think in summary, the feelings of the committee on why they sent it unfavorably, and these are sentiments that I think I agree with as well. I broke the tie in order to send it unfavorably. I think there is an issue with the Election Commission taking a role of ensuring that candidates are complying with campaign issues. I think the role of the Election Commission is to fairly implement the election. It's to make sure that you have a fair and non-biased approach. It's accessible to everybody. I don't think we want to put Election Commission in the place of, I wouldn't want Election Commission in the place of making sure that every single candidate that's running is living up to their campaign promises. I think that's probably the role of the voters, and at least if we're talking about the philosophy behind elections in the first place. Another issue I think that will be expressed on the floor tonight is that there probably is a problem with Election Commission incentivizing candidates to take a particular stance on any one campaign issue, especially one that can be construed as political like this. Obviously, sustainability is something that I value. I think everyone in this room probably values sustainability, but I don't think we want to assume that that's the right way. I think it is a political issue, and I think it's up to the candidates to decide what sort of campaign stance they want to take. I think it's fair. I don't think that a sticker will make a huge sway saying that they have been sustainable, but I don't think we want Election Commission offering any sort of incentives either way. So I yield. Actually, no, I apologize. I do not yield. I would like to yield the remainder of my time to Senator Seth.
Hi, everyone. So I am one of the co-authors on this bill. I think to start, what I'm going to do is I am going to motion to split the Rules Committee vote, amendments, sorry, on this bill. So I'd like to split the vote, or not the amendments, sorry, the voting on the amendments of the first enacted clause. So essentially taking the amendment for 5.10.1, splitting that amendment as a separate amendment from Rules Committee. Does that make sense? I didn't word that very well.
Could you just say that one more time?
Yeah, so essentially, I would like to split, so these are like the Rules Committee amendments, amendments that are on the screen.
So Speaker Weathers is going to have to make the motion since it's technically
Yes.
his speaking privilege, but
that's fair.
it's good that you're explaining it.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess technically it is still my speaking privilege. I would just say everything that's on your mind, and then once we get into debate on the floor, then you can make these amendments.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So anyway, we'll worry about that in a minute. The Smart Campaign Program bill that you're seeing tonight this is a project that Senator Rizvik and myself have been working with Election Commission on for over a year now. 2 weeks ago, the Election Commission voted unanimously. I think it's important to note that they voted unanimously in favor of this bill and sent the recommendations to the Speaker in accordance with bylaws. The Election Commission, in collaboration with us, made extensive revisions to this bill, including a revocation and appeals process, as well as the elimination of any financial and petitioning incentives to streamline the logistics of the program and also to ensure fairness in elections, because we do understand your concerns about incentives and kind of politicizing and that sort of a thing. We just want to Senator Rizvik and I want to reiterate that we've thought about this program extensively and how best to structure it to meet the standards of the Election Commission and to effectively promote sustainability on campus. I want to reiterate to all of you that this program is a pilot program. We will be reevaluating the program following its first year of implementation to get a sense of how it went. That being said, the vote, if you vote in favor or not in favor of this bill, in theory, it's not permanently binding. I think that we all intrinsically understand this, but we do have the power to disband the program should we find it to be ineffective or have a negative impact on elections after its first year. So we have power to get rid of the program. However, if we don't pass this bill, we won't ever get to find out if this program can be a way to effectively promote sustainability within elections. So just keep that in mind. Secondly, we also want to reiterate that this program is entirely voluntary. No one is required to participate in the program to win a Senate seat or an executive slate. Candidates have the right to not participate in the program or to leave the program at any time. So this is an optional thing that people can choose to do. And we will be providing the same information to all candidates about this program, so everyone will have equal access to this information. So that is also something important to note. And third, the only incentive that participants have for this program, should they be a participant, is just receiving like a little accreditation, kind
Just
of
so
like.
you know, your speaking privilege is expired, so we're going to have to move on from that.
Okay. I yield then? I don't know.
Is there any objection to adding Senator DeVore to the roll? All right, seeing none. He's been added to the roll. Senator Seth, you can make a motion.
Okay, I'm just gonna say one other little thing before I make a motion. So the accreditation is just a certification that the participants' campaign was run in a sustainable manner, and it's just a stamp. Like, that's basically all it's gonna be. So it's very small. We don't really believe that this will have any sway on voters' opinions, so also keep that in mind. And with that, I am going to make the motion to split the Rules Committee amendments. So I want to essentially separate the amendment deleting the enacted clause for bylaw 5.10.1 to be a separate amendment from Rules Committee amendments. Does that make more sense?
All right, there's been a motion, and is it going to be reflected on the screen?
Okay, so then I will motion to, I guess, adopt the Rules Committee amendments.
Yep, we'll go ahead and go into a discussion period on that. Question has been called for. Okay, state your objection.
Sorry. I think we were going to motion to split.
Do you withdraw your? called the question. Can someone raise their hand? Do you withdraw your call to question? Okay. Back on the discussion of the amendment.
Yeah, so I motion to, I guess, how do we do this? We just remove the amendment? Yeah, motion to split the vote on the amendment. Can we, huh? So how would I do that? Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
Just motion to.
Okay, point of information. As it stands right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Chair, but we are on the Rules Committee amendments. I believe what Senator Seth is trying to do would be to vote on one particular part of these amendments, and would the best way to do that be to make a motion to amend the amendments pursuant to whatever Senator Seth would like to do?
Which part are you trying to split again? It's the top one?
No, so I want to essentially motion to accept the rules. Is it the third? Yeah, the motion, the amendment that would delete, or I guess remove the third, or is it? Yeah, the amendment that would delete, remove the third enacted clause. We want to essentially not vote on that with the Rules Committee amendments, like take it out of the Rules Committee amendments.
Senator Debate.
So if I'm understanding your intent correctly, the best way to do that would be to move the Rules Committee amendments, and while we are on discussion, make a secondary amendment to annul that part of the Rules Committee amendments, essentially.
Yes.
And that would let Senate have a vote on that particular question, and then depending on how that question progresses, go to the entire amendment with or without the part you will be making an amendment to effect.
Yes.
I yield.
I move to amend the amendment to nullify the redaction of that enacted clause.
All right, there's been a motion and amendment to the amendment. Is there a second? All right, we'll go ahead and go into a discussion period on the amendment. Vice Speaker Crabb. Or did you want to? Vice Speaker Crabb, you're good.
Okay, so I think that keeping this with all the Rules Committee amendments is important, because I think that it's something where these are all of Rules' recommendations, and I think to separate it is a little, I guess, unfair to the conversation that we had in the Rules Committee. So,
Senator Mahoney.
I would also throw in the point that part of the discussion that Rules had about this was Election Commission's whole job is to make sure that elections are fair and unbiased. And so keeping everything election related within Election Commission, regardless of the rest of the bill, is probably a good decision in my opinion. And so I would encourage not nullifying it, doing what Rules wanted originally recommended.
All right, Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, I think the point that Senator Mahoney raises is a valid one. Rules wanted to redact this enacted clause because we didn't want the Sustainability Committee to have a role in the elections process. We just thought that if anybody were to be qualified to maintain non-bias, it would be the Election Commission. Of course, that's not speaking to the merits of the entire bill. I've already said my thoughts on that. But I think having a student government committee involved in the elections just doesn't make sense. That's why we have an Election Commission.
Election Commission Treasurer Krug.
Yeah, so essentially what this would do is that the 5.10.1 Election Commission is not an expert in sustainability. What it would do is request a recommendation just for them to look over a proposal, and then that proposal will be voted on and then sent back to the Vice Commissioner. and the vice commissioner at that point will decide the final decision on whether to approve it. So essentially, it's just an outside source to just look it over, because we're not experts in sustainability and we just want a second opinion, essentially. I think that this clause is important because I think that opinion matters. So, yeah.
Senator Hayes.
I think we should probably not have sustainability committee input on election commission matters. It seems strange that that there's the sustainability committee is within Senate, which makes it a political underneath like the political aspects of the work that we do here, whereas the election commission seems like it should be pretty impartial and operate without any political input. I don't think that from a political theory standpoint that we should allow for a political committee to interfere with what is supposedly a non-biased election. And in order to keep that straight, I think that that the sustainability committee should not have input on how the election commission operates. I yield.
Senator Debate.
To give more context, sustainability is composed of executive members, Senate members, and at-larges. Now, historically, we have had people from all three of these groups be an active part of campaigns on one side or both sides, or however many sides are taking part in these student government elections. Conflict of interest thing that has been brought up is also very pertinent. The Election Commission is situated in the judicial branch. The Election Commission is specifically structured to be completely independent of the push and pull of the political process of whatever's going on outside of the judicial branch. Sustainability, on the other hand, this was never brought into consideration when sustainability was being made. Sustainability was being placed in the executive branch. Sustainability was being designed from a structural standpoint. So I think there is a very good rules justification to not have this committee assisting with elections. And I think this is why Rules Committee yesterday voted to strike out this part of the bill. Just to sort of recap what's going on here, if you vote yes, you will be supporting the motion, which is to give sustainability role. If you vote no, you will be keeping the amendment as is, which would take sustainability out of the elections process under the bill. I yield.
Do you withdraw your called question? All right. We're now on the objection.
There were two of us with placards up. I think we should, in order to keep this a democratic process, maybe listen to other senators and what input they have.
All right, question has been called for on the objection, so we're going to be going into a voting period on the objection. So voting yes to the objection means that we will be going into a voting period. Voting no on the objection, what? So this is on the objection. So if you vote to pass the objection, that means we'll go straight to a vote. Voting no means we'll go back to discussion.
It's the
other way around. Excuse me, sorry. We're about 4 layers deep in parliamentary procedure right now. So, okay. Vote yes, no, or abstain. We'll do a placard vote. Yes. Can you clarify, please?
Yeah, so point of information. If you vote yes on the objection, you will be agreeing with the objection, which means that we go back into discussion. If you vote no, that means you disagree with the objection, and we'll go into a vote.
All right. Yeses. Can you hold them high, please? Noes. Any abstentions? All right, of a vote of 22 to 8 to 0, the objection passes, which means we'll be going back into discussion on the amendment to the amendment. Senator Rizvik.
Director of Sustainability Smith had her placard up. I don't know if she wanted to speak on this. Okay. I was going to also mention that there is language in this code that specifically states if any potential conflict of interest was presented by any of the members of Sustainability Committee, then they are required to abstain from that vote. If there was ever some sort of vote that was taken where a conflict of interest had been presented and they voted yes or no or whatever the case is, it could easily be appealed to the Supreme Court and or the Election Commission. So I yield.
Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, I just wanted to address that point specifically. I guess language that says members shall recuse themselves from a vote if they have conflicts of interest is admittedly vague. It's up to any particular individual to determine whether or not they have conflicts of interest, and I don't think there's any enforcement mechanism behind that. It is, as Senator Abate said, right? Members of Sustainability Committee are elected. They're either in the executive or they're senators or they're supporting a campaign likely. So I think everybody, if you are not a part of Election Commission, you are almost guaranteed, of course not entirely, to have some sort of bias at play.
Senator Hayes.
Going off of Dawson's point, I would go even further, and I'd say that if you are on Sustainability Committee by virtue of having a political input on what's supposed to be a nonpartisan operation, you are having, some sort of conflict of interest, being that where something is supposed to be non-partial or impartial, you are having some sort of partial input on that process, which would mean that you are inputting your own political stances onto what is supposed to be non-partial. Additionally, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I yield.
Senator Strickland.
So this is probably a question best for the authors of the bill. If we were to remove the Sustainability Committee from this whole process, how would that change the overall purpose of the bill? Would the SMART campaign still be effective? Would the removal debilitate it, or how would that change?
Yeah, I mean, is that directed towards me? Okay, I can speak on this. So really all it would do is it would just remove the recommendation portion of this. So what? Part of the reason why we put this language in there is, as Treasurer Krug mentioned, the Election Commission isn't necessarily an expert on sustainability, and they don't necessarily know a whole lot about sustainability. So having that second opinion might be kind of nice. But other than that, removing Sustainability Committee from the SMART Campaign program would really not do any other, it wouldn't really impact the program in any other way. So, I mean, I think if the body is leaning in favor of this, then I think that's acceptable. It's not going to completely ruin the program, to answer your question.
All right, Election Commission Treasurer Krug.
Is it someone else's speaking privilege or is it mine?
You have your own.
Okay. I only have two, correct?
You only have two. This would be your second one for the amendment to the amendment.
Thank you. Okay, so this is just clarification. The proposal that will come to Election Commission, the Vice Commissioner will redact all information that identifies the candidate in the campaign. So the Sustainability Committee will only see the proposal and will not know who it is and what their stance, whatever their campaign. So it's just a proposal, and if it follows the Appendix C as outlined. So yeah, that's just a clarification that they're not going to know who it is. It's just a proposal, and that eliminates the potential for bias.
Senator Thornton.
I move to strike Senator Rulli from the roll.
This motion to strike Senator Rulli from the rule. Is there any objection?
Move to.
Okay. What about someone who do Senator or Vice Speaker Crabb as well? Just both. All right. Is there any objection to striking both those senators from the roll? All right. Seeing none. Been taken off the roll. Senator Simmons.
I'd like to, I'd like to yield my time to Senator Hayes.
Yeah, I just thought I was out of speaking privileges. I wasn't sure. But yeah, so I remember what I was going to say. So I just, goodness, if I forget again, I swear to God. So having this sort of input, whether or not a candidate is directly impacted by implementing these policies, by having sustainability have, a say on what goes into, the determination of whether somebody gets a green incentive, basically results in the Sustainability Committee having a say on which candidates in a supposedly impartial race have some sort of benefit over other candidates. So if we're trying to make this a fair race by having Sustainability Committee have this input, they are effectively making a decision on which candidates will be in a better position to win any sort of candidate slate, which I think is completely unjust and unfair, especially because this is a political issue, like Dawson started off by saying, and it might not be in everybody's best interest at all times to promote sustainability, or there might be other things that people are qualified to do, but that just aren't green. And even if they're of more value or of equal value to the sustainable work that they're getting, that other candidates are being incentivized for, their work, which might also be valued just as much, will not be incentivized. And that's what I got to say.
Senator Blythe.
This is just a question for any of the authors of the bill here, but I'm trying to understand what exactly is meant in 5.10.1.1 when it gives, it says it gives Student Sustainability Committee ability to oversee the proposal process, but also the ability to distribute grants from the Green Initiatives account. I've been trying to find exactly what type of grants are we talking about here?
Yeah, so I can answer this one. So this is just, that enacted clause is, so you're asking about, just to clarify, 5.10.1.1?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm fine with the proposal process. I understand where you're going from for that in regards to that.
So that is not part of the Smart Campaign program. This is just essentially adding in this Smart Campaign into the Sustainability Committee kind of responsibilities. So the Green Initiatives Fund is something else completely different. So it has no relation to this bill.
All right, that's what I want to double check.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
already in the bylaws. We're just updating the bylaws to reflect the Smart Campaign program. Does that make sense?
It does, I yield.
Just a reminder, there's a minute and 40 seconds left until we will have to go to a vote because we'll be out of time on the amendment. Senator Debate.
Right, so the operations of any government are inherently political. That's sort of the point of having a government set up like we do. Language such as, like that's up right now that says if you have a conflict of interest, you abstain. If language like that worked, we would have no need for the separation of branches, the separation of powers. We would have no need for a system of checks and balances. There's a reason why we don't have senators sitting on our courts, on the Supreme Court, and as long as the senators don't have a conflict of interest with whatever's going on. There's a reason why we have a strict firewall there between, say, the judicial branch, and I think the same applies to our election process, which is an exception to all activities of a government being inherently political. With that being said, Director of Sustainability Smith, did you have your placard up? Yes, I would like to pose you a question then, to say whatever you have to say.
I want to echo what Election Commissioner Treasurer Krug said about the anonymity of the process and how that relates to eliminating conflicts of interest.
30 seconds.
Bias. However, I think a partnership between the Sustainability Committee and candidates interested in pursuing this certification is still entirely possible, even if the amendments are accepted. I don't know if that's the right word.
It's back to me. Vote no. I yield.
All All right, the time has expired, so we'll go ahead and call the question. Question has been called for and seconded. Any objection to voting now? We'll go into a voting period. We'll do a placard vote for this one. This is on the amendment to the amendment that we've been discussing. So we'll start with yeses. Do you want to explain? Or Senator Debate has got it too, either way.
If you vote yes, you would be agreeing with the motion, and agreeing with the motion means that that part is taken out of the rules amendment. Essentially and simple, I guess I'll just boil it down. If you vote yes, sustainability will play a role in the bill. If you vote no, it would keep the amendment as is, which includes striking out sustainability sections. Now, because we're 2 levels steep, this is contingent on the rules amendment itself passing.
So this means nothing unless the Rules Committee amendments pass along with the changes. So this is on the amendment to the amendment that Vate just explained. So we'll go ahead and go into a voting period then. So please vote yes, no, or abstain. We're doing a placard vote. Start with yeses. Any noes? Any abstentions? All right, of a vote of 0 to 28 to 0, the amendment to the amendment fails, and we're going to go back on the amendment that was originally proposed. That's what we're on the discussion period for now. I believe we're already there, so that's what we're on discussion. We're not on the main motion. We're on the first layer of amendments now. We have about 13 minutes or 12 minutes remaining to debate. Speaker Weathers, it's been a call to question. Is there an objection? All right. We'll go ahead and go to a voting period then for the original amendments that are reflected on the screen. We'll do a placard vote once again. So please vote yes, no, or abstain. This is on the amendments reflected on the screen, starting with yeses. Please hold them high. Noes? Any abstentions? All right, a vote of 28 to 0 to 0. The amendment passes back on the main motion. The bill as a whole now. Senator Risvik.
I just want to talk about a few things about this bill. So in the Rules Committee meeting, members had asked whether or not there were similar policies in student government to the Smart Campaign program. In 2017, student government voted to approve of a public funding option for the student government elections, and at that time, publicly funded slates were required to gain more petitioning counts. Since this policy's passing, that has changed. But even then, there still has been this, I guess, like a campaign strategy of where political candidates in the student government elections will use that public versus private as some sort of leverage against their opponent. I do think that there is precedent of student government adopting policies where they kind of accommodate needs that student government needs to address. I also want to talk about in the Rules Committee meeting, I guess in my interpretation, members had failed to cite which bylaw the Smart Campaign program would conflict with, and this is going to relate to Rules Committee sending it unfavorably. In the conversation in the committee meeting, before it was sent unfavorably, a Rules Committee member had mentioned how they didn't want to send it to Senate because they were essentially worried about how Senate would vote on the matter. And so I guess, Speaker Weathers, do you want to speak about that, whether or not that had happened or occurred, or?
You're asking me if a member had said something about wanting to kill the bill in committee because they didn't want the bill to see Senate, or maybe I need clarification. I'm sorry.
I guess, could you speak more about why Senate sent, or Rules Committee sent it unfavorably? And then to follow up with that, could you address that statement that was made in Rules Committee?
Okay, yeah, I can do my best. Obviously, I'm not qualified to speak for everybody who was on the committee, but I believe the sentiments for sending it unfavorably was that the members on Rules Committee wanted and Senate to see it because the bill was written well and the program's a well-designed program. But the reason that it was sent unfavorably, in my understanding, was that people had issues with it in terms of student government structure. They thought that, as we've already discussed before, that there was issues with the Election Commission taking on these sort of roles of ensuring candidates are compliant with their campaign promises and incentivizing candidates to take certain stances on what would otherwise be political issues. That was my understanding, and those were sentiments that I agreed with. A senator saying something about wanting to kill it in committee because they thought Senate would vote no on it, that may have happened. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the minutes. That's obviously not a sentiment I agreed with. During Rules Committee, I said that we should not hold it in committee indefinitely because the bill's well written, and I don't want to make a practice of committees killing bills that they disagree with. Obviously, I think that's a terrible move to do. So yeah, that's why it got sent to Senate, because we wanted the body to see it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I do want to talk about, so the election code as it's written, this was also talked about in Rules Committee, but whether or not it complied with the mission of the Election Commission. And so the scope and the purpose, according to Chapter 1 of the Election Code, states that the mission of the Election Commission shall be the fair and proper administration of all elections of the government. A sub-bullet within the section defines fair as through enforcement of student government election law. And then to add on to that, equal opportunity by informing students of the requirements and procedures to run for office and providing support or guidance for candidates who may or need or desire it. I think this program, because it's voluntary, it provides that option where everyone can join if they want to. I also think that because it's voluntary, no one's required to do it, and there isn't really a big enough incentive or promotion that happens in the campaign. I don't really think that there is an unfair balance, I guess, especially considering in the context of how voters
Your time
are
has
gonna
expired.
vote.
Senator Wegmeister.
Yeah, question for the authors, or I guess. Question for the authors or anyone. Yes, Speaker Crabb, Vice Speaker Crabb.
Is there any objection to adding Vice Speaker Crabb? You just said that. Is there any objection to adding Vice Speaker Crabb to the roll? Right, seeing none, he's been added to the roll. And then did someone take off? There was another one they took off. Was it Mahoney? Okay, we're good. Just kidding. All right. Senator Wegmeister, continue.
Yeah, question for the authors, or I guess anyone else that has seen any sort of a thing. My question is this an original idea, or is this modeled after something that has been done elsewhere?
So in the context of this program itself, this is an original kind of concept. So there aren't any other institutions like college institutions that do this in their elections. However, the program and the way that points are allocated, so if you go to Appendix C, which has the matrix and talks about essentially points that you can get for the accreditation, that is modeled after programs similar to LEED, which is a certification program for buildings. Buildings can achieve LEED, bronze, silver, gold, or platinum, and it's also based kind of on a point system, as well as something that Director of Sustainability Smith works on, which is the STARS program. It's a similar kind of build. So we structured the matrix to kind of follow existing programs, but in the sense of elections, this is kind of a new thing. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I yield.
Senator Mahoney.
So I think it's hard to argue that This bill hasn't had a lot of thought put into it by its authors. It's been worked on over the last year or however long with a lot of different hands on it. So I think it's hard to argue with that. And ultimately, whether or not you like or dislike this bill is boiling down to whether you think sustainability is a political matter or not. I think if you think personally, if you think it is, political matters, or encouraging people to have a certain political stance on a bill or on a topic should not be election commission's job. If you think it's not, then there's an argument to maybe be made there. I'm personally going to say I don't think sustainability is a political matter, and that's at least my personal opinion. Regardless, I like this program, and I'd love to see sustainability pick it up in a different matter, and maybe during elections, hey, if you start sustainability, here's some great options and ideas about how to continue this. So I hope that if this bill does not pass, something like this continues to exist in some form going forward. I just want to throw that out there. But regardless, I yield.
Senator Paulson.
Would it be taken as a friendly under 15.1.3 bronze accreditation? It says 7, but then in the parentheses it says 8, so just to fix that. Yeah.
It says 7 in words. It says 8 in the numerical. Is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be 7 or 8. 8. So yeah.
Yes, I would take that as a friendly. Senator DeVore was next.
Thank you. So I guess I would like to go back to Senator Rizvik, your question to Speaker Weathers on the comment made in rules yesterday, and I wish you would have posed a question to me because I'm pretty sure you were referring to me. So while I definitely did share sentiments that I was afraid about the implications this bill would have on our body if passed by Senate, I was also the senator that made the motion to send it to Senate unfavorably, yes, but I made the motion to send it to Senate, and I voted for that. So now, just to explain my reasoning for why I voted to send it unfavorably. The basis upon why I chose to send this bill to Senate unfavorably is because I see this entire bill as a huge red flag. As elected senators, we should all be more than concerned that the Election Commission and the Sustainability Committee is asking for more hands in our elections, free elections. By essentially implementing a seal of approval and incentivizing a campaign based on a particular initiative, set aside sustainability for a minute, because this debate is not about sustainability. It is about the role of the Election Commission and the integrity of our governing documents. What this bill does is allows the Election Commission to essentially validate a certain platform point. This would be detrimental to our institution by allowing Election Commission to infringe upon our campaigns. If this bill is passed, the question would then be asked if we should still lie the responsibility of validating and voting on campaign platform points in the hands of voters or in the hands of the Election Commission. The concept is simple here. The intent of this bill directly violates Code 1.1.1 of Election Commission Code, which reads, "The mission of the Election Commission shall be the fair and proper administration of all elections of the government." Nowhere in Election Commission Code does it say that the Election Commission shall provide incentives and rewards for campaigns by taking a stance on a certain initiative. Plain and simple, this is a bad bill. In fact, the only reason I voted to send this bill to Senate for you all to see is so that you could see the bill for yourself and speak for yourself on why this bill would be detrimental to our body. With that, I highly encourage all senators to vote for your own free elections and vote no on this bill. And with that, I yield.
Senator Finaldi.
I just wanted to yield my time to Treasurer Krug.
He has speaking privileges actually on this, so. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
In my opinion, I do not believe, so 1.1.1 of the Chapter 1 of the Election Code is the mission statement of the Election Commission. This was placed just to, it's in the general provisions, essentially. As a mission statement, I believe the fair and proper administration is broad enough to encompass a program like this. Regarding the fair aspect, we actually have a definition specifically for this, and it says the fair through enforcement of student government election law. So that is through the violations process and making sure that each person is treated fairly and our decisions are based on precedent. I don't believe that the fairness definition that you're using in that case is consistent with that. In previous years, so 5 years ago, the Election Commission came to the body and requested that we have a public funding option to incentivize people to run for office. So the incentivization, even though I don't really think this is an incentive per se, but there we do have precedent that we have provided incentives for campaigning. Secondly, we do have authority to manage the campaigns according to the election law. And we can disclose, we can make sure that there's all the funding is on there. We have procedures to make sure that the campaign materials are applicable to trademark. So we do have that power, in my opinion. This is also based off of the outreach credit. So it's not campaign promises. It is you did an activity, you get a credit for it. Same thing as an outreach credit. And in that case, I think this is a really good bill in that sense, and I just disagree on the characterization of Election Commission's power.
Senator Claiborne?
I would like to yield my time to Finance Director Zastro.
I wasn't going to speak on this bill, but I haven't heard anybody else talk about it, and I think it's something that does need to be brought up. Has anybody in this process consulted with University Counsel or Student Legal Services on this bill? Okay. I would be very hesitant passing this without legal consultation here. We are a body that is mandated by the state of Iowa's legislature. Board of Regents has policies specifically regarding us. The 14th Amendment does apply to us, and I could see this being an equal protection issue on First Amendment grounds. As someone with a particular interest in not getting sued, I love the idea of this bill. I think that supporting green initiatives on campus is something that this body is particularly relevant to. If this is approved by University Counsel, I would love to see something like this progress. But until that point, I would be very wary passing this. Thank you.
Senator Ulrich?
So first off, one thing I do want to bring up is that yesterday in Rules Committee, I believe Senator Rizvik did bring up that there are potential alternatives to this program that she would be willing to consider if this is voted down. And I mean, I'm a huge supporter, an advocate for sustainability as well, but I will be voting no just because I agree with the argument that's been stated on the floor. But for those of you that may be considering yes because you're on the sustainability side of things, she did say that there are alternatives to this program that she'd be willing to explore. And I yield.
Senator Lunt?
If this bill fails, is it possible to still, for us to still come up with a way to share these, not guidance, but as suggestions for people running campaigns towards an author of the bill?
If you want to yield your time, yeah.
Director Treasurer.
Yes, so we do have a document called Campaign Guidelines that the Public Relations Committee works on. That could be included. It essentially just gives a rundown of what they can do. Yeah, so that.
Senator Rizvik?
I motion to table this bill for a week so that way we can route it to that department that Finance Director Zastro.
All right, is there a second?
Seconded.
All right. An objection. All right, so state your objection.
I think whether or not this was legal under some sort of standard, I don't think many of us would vote yes on it. And so I think that either way, I'm ready to call to question right now.
Is that a motion?
So we're on the discussion.
This is not a motion. I'm just stating my objection. I don't think that it is relevant to many of us whether or not this is somehow legal, which I would imagine it wouldn't be. But I just don't think that decision would be impactful on the voters that we have in the room today.
Vice Speaker Crabb?
This was discussed yesterday in rules, but I think that the best possible way for this to pass or this to eventually happen, even if we table it, I think that having resources for campaigns to use during like their time and working with Sustainability and Election Commission, I think that the better idea would be to table this indefinitely. And if you are going to bring something, this wouldn't have to go through the bylaws. This is just something you would be able to work with in Election Commission and sustainability. So I think that's the best option to table indefinitely.
Senator or Speaker Weathers?
Yeah, I guess I would have issues with tabling this bill. I think that the body is, I agree with Senator Hayes, the body doesn't seem to be in favor of the bill. If we were to table it for a week, I don't think that the bill could be reworked enough within that time. I think the issues that the body has with the bill aren't with anything that can be changed with like minor clause edits or enacted clauses being changed or moved around. I think that the issues the body has with the bill are fundamental, and that's something that's not going to be resolved with working on it. Working on it for a week, I think that we would have to shoot down this bill and bring back another bill that maybe gets towards these ends, but without the structural issues that have been structural issues and worries that have been expressed.
Senator Vore?
Yeah, in regards to the objection, I agree with both Senator Hayes and Speaker Weathers' sentiments. I think that getting this bill looked over from a legal standpoint would certainly be beneficial, because I guess I do not think that this bill would probably pass those standards. But I pose a question to Senator Rizvik, I guess. Yesterday in rules, I believe you yourself stated that it might be best moving forward to start from scratch and work on an alternative to this bill. Is that correct?
I said that I would consider it, or I would like to see what the alternatives were. I guess that's my position on that. Like, I do want to see what the alternatives are if this isn't feasible or if it isn't legal or et cetera.
Okay. I personally just don't think that, I think that by tabling this bill for a week, you're just going to try to buy time. I don't think you're going to be able to meet with the university on legality issues of a student government bill within a week's time. So with that, I'm going to call the question on the objection.
Objection.
Sure. So with that, the question has been called on the objection.
We're going to go ahead and go into a vote on the objection. So what happens now is if you vote yes on the objection, we're going back to debate on the main motion. If you vote no and the objection fails, we're going to go ahead and go into another voting period on whether or not to table the motion. Yep. Okay. So does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So voting yes means if this passes, then we're going to go back to debate. If it does not pass, we're going to go to a vote on tabling this bill. So we'll start with yeses. There's no discussion on that. Nope, we'd be going straight to a vote. All right. Starting with yeses on the objection. Please hold them high. This is on the objection. That's what we're voting on. Noes. Can you hold them up? Noes, please. All right. Any abstentions? Of a vote of 21 to 8, the objection passes, meaning we'll be going back onto the debate of the main motion. Been a call to question on the bill as a whole. In a second, is there any objection to voting now on the bill? All right, we'll go ahead and go. Did you object? Did someone object? Okay. We'll go on to closing comments with Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for the debate. I know it can be contentious. I guess my last thoughts on the matter. This bill has been looked at and discussed thoroughly. I don't think we're rushing anything by any means. It's gone through the normal procedures. We've had a thorough debate here on it tonight, so I think this vote that we're having here is more than valid. And to address any lingering concerns, I just wanted to point out that there's a big distinction between implementations of public funding and private public funding for campaigns and a smart campaign program. I mean, public funding is providing incentives for people to run for office in the first place, which is obviously a good thing. I don't think that's even a political issue. But that is distinguishable from providing incentives to take a certain stance on what definitely is a political issue. Obviously, I wish sustainability weren't a political issue, but the fact of the matter is that it is, and I don't think the Election Commission's role is to incentivize candidates to take particular stances on political issues.
All right, with that, we will be going into a voting period. There's been a call for a roll call vote. We'll go ahead and do this one. Roll call vote, please vote yes, no, or abstain once I say your name, starting with Idbate. No. Adagarla. No. Ulrich. No. Brecht. No. Blythe. No. Carter. Claiborne. No. Crab. DeVore. No. Filippi. No. Finaldi. No. Goff. No. Hayes. No. Larson. No. Lent. No. Mahoney. McCready. No. Patel. No. Paulson. No. Risvik. No. Ruley. Seth. Sayaway. No. Simmons. No. Skag. Just kidding. Stout. No. Strickland. No. Thornton. Wagmeister.
No.
Weathers. Zuber.
No.
Carter.
No.
And Mahoney. Of a vote of 1 to 28 to 0, the bill fails. Okay, so now we're going on to new business, and this is 2021-2-044Y, updating the title of our treasurer to nonprofit coordinator with Senator Hayes.
Hello, everybody. That isn't it. Hello, everybody. So yeah, the title of our treasurer, I just wanted to update the title of our treasurer to the nonprofit coordinator. Currently, the treasurer in our bylaws basically acts as a nonprofit coordinator and the finance director is who serves as our student organization treasurer. I think that just helps clarify things and also makes it more clear as to what somebody is signing up for when they serve as our nonprofit coordinator. Yeah, that's it.
All right, questions of intent for Senator Hayes. Speaker Weathers.
Yeah, hi, Senator Hayes. There's the first enacted clause in here doesn't list a specific bylaw. Is it your intention to attend Rules Committee and clarify exactly where you want that line to go?
Yeah, I know nothing about bylaws.
So no, it's not your intention, or yes, it is?
Yes or no, you got it.
Yes.
You will be attending Rules Committee?
I intend to.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more questions of intent for Senator Hayes? If not, we'll be going on to closing announcements. Senator Filippi.
We serve students and improve the student experience through advocacy and empowerment. Student government is the student organization that represents all students at Iowa State University. To do this, we work with other student organizations, Iowa State administration, the Ames community, the state legislature, and the Board of Regents to accomplish initiatives, set policies, and make sure all students have a voice. That is a quote from the Iowa State University Student Government website. To say that I'm disappointed in actions from specific student government members over the past couple of weeks is an understatement. In accordance with the mission statement of Iowa State University student government is supposed to be a kind, inclusive, and diverse organization. Many of you preach diversity, equity, and inclusion, but seem to have created a fabricated version of DE&I. The practice or quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and a different gender, sexual orientations, etc. That is the definition of diversity from Google. Diversity is not limited to a person's skin tone or ethnic background. Diversity includes ideology, social backgrounds, various beliefs. Every single one of us in this room contributes a diverse aspect to student government. Every single one of us. We as members of student government were elected to represent our constituents, and surprise, they're not all going to be exactly like us. That'd be pretty boring, actually. It shouldn't matter if our constituents or student government counterparts have different beliefs or ideologies than us. What should matter is that we are able to get along and work together to help benefit students here at Iowa State University. We need to not judge people because of their personal beliefs or preconceived beliefs about them. We need to not silence people because of their thoughts and ideas may not align with ours. More specifically, certain members of student government should not be holding private meetings with people interested in student government and expressing to them that they are not welcomed in student government and that their presence make others feel uncomfortable solely based on the fact that their beliefs are different than ours. How certain people have been and are being treated is uncalled for, and this cancel culture of bullying others with different beliefs should not be tolerated. The real world is mean enough. We don't need to be mean to each other in student government. We all need to be mature enough to communicate with people no matter what their backgrounds or beliefs consist of. We need to do better. Thank you.
Senator Hayes.
I would also like to address some of the hypocrisy I also see in student government. There are two issues regarding our members acting hypocritically that I would like to address. The first is in reference to being transparent, and the second is in reference to us promoting diversity and inclusion. I believe that eliminating these hypocritical actions will allow us to better interact with each other and also those outside of student government. I'm going to keep it short and sweet while discussing the hypocrisy regarding transparency. We constantly make sure that we check ourselves to be transparent to the public so everyone can know what's going on and to ensure that there is no manipulation or unfair play. We want to make sure that the public trusts us and that they are able to give feedback on our projects. For the same reasons, we should try and ensure that we keep each other in check with being open with each other. Working behind people's backs doesn't do anything but diminish the trust we have amongst one another and eliminate collaboration. If we are to be working on projects, be honest and open and upfront with people you talk to, and be confident enough in your values and projects to keep working on them, even if it receives criticism. Our ideas should be implemented by mutual consent amongst others, not from individuals not playing by the rules and forcing things to go their way. I encourage everyone in the room to form a culture amongst ourselves that encourages collaboration. Moving on to the hypocrisy I noticed in our work concerning diversity and inclusion. When it comes to promoting and encouraging diversity, it is important that we make sure not to pick and choose what forms of diversity we promote. Currently, we promote diversity for all racial, sexual, and gender identities more strongly than I see us promoting any other sort of identity or value. On the other end of this, I would go so far as to say that there are some identities and values that we discourage as well. As a queer person of color, I say wholeheartedly that there are parts of myself that I do not feel comfortable expressing because of the culture we have in this organization, and it brings me emotional and instinctual turmoil. Picking and choosing what sectors of life we accept and promote fails to accept the complex personalities of our members. To further display how hypocritical it is to discourage others from joining our organization based on the values they hold, I will parallel those actions with an instance of racial discrimination. Instances of racial discrimination are caused by a negative first impression of someone based on their skin color. This is what we commonly refer to as having a bias on someone based on their skin color. Racially discriminatory acts are based on superficial judgments, as these judgments are founded before getting to know the character of the individual getting discriminated against. The same is true when we discriminate against somebody based on the values they hold. These discriminatory actions are also based on unjust personal biases formed without really getting to know somebody, only by hearing a tidbit of something that they stand for. Furthermore, students are silenced because they are not encouraged to display their whole character, which is the same thing we try to eliminate when we discuss promoting diversity and inclusion. There are students we have at the table that are silenced who I encourage to speak loud and proud despite what pressures you may feel against you. Even worse, there are students who we have left out of the table because some others actively discourage them in the name of promoting diversity and inclusion. This is the opposite of inclusion. I believe that in the spirit of inclusion, the only things we should discourage are those which are non-inclusive, even if we do not hold certain values, so long as they are not non-exclusive. I believe we do not have reasons for us to professionally not include somebody in our organization. In valuing inclusivity, we should encourage others to participate alongside us in this organization, despite not agreeing with them. And in this spirit, see that tolerance is entailed from valuing inclusivity and diversity. And if you are not a tolerant person, I question whether you value inclusivity and diversity in the first place. There are many queer people and people of color who feel the same way as me. Some of them in this organization, some of them outside. But either way, I really hope that this impacted all of you.
Senator Debate. Senator Larson.
Although I don't want to outshine that, on a happier note, it is Military and Veteran Appreciation Month, and I know that Senator Phillippe is in the National Guard, Air National Guard, and just want to say thank you to her. And then also at the football game this coming Saturday, all the ROTC branches are going to be squadron marching onto the field for the national anthem, and we're going to have, I'm not sure what exactly, but helicopters or planes of some sort flying over for the national anthem. So if you guys can make it to the game, I think that'll be really awesome for you guys to see. And then also, if you see any veterans or anybody in the military, in my personal opinion, I'd say thank them for their service if that is something that you guys want to do. And then something that I'm going to try to do this month is if somebody's in front of me in line that I know is clearly in the military or veteran, I'm going to try to buy them a meal. I would encourage you guys to do the same if you're in a food line and see somebody in the military. But yeah.
Chief of Staff Ludwig.
Howdy. IRHA left behind some cups that are at the end of that table down there. So if on your way out you want to snag one, please feel free. They brought them for all of you. So, grab one.
Senator Debate.
Okay. Hate to break the chain that's going on right now, but just sort of go back to a question that was posed to me earlier tonight. Well, first of all, thank you to all of Senate for helping committee chairs fulfill their responsibilities to Senate. To sort of address the attendance question that came up, because I didn't have a speaking privilege back then, SI committee was a 15-member committee. Our last regular meeting had 11 members in attendance, which meant we had 4 missing members. Of those 4 missing members, one was a senator with an excused absence for a very, very valid reason. The other was an at-large with an excused absence for a very valid reasons. And then we had 2 at-larges with non-excused absences, one of which was had their seat relinquished tonight. The other I had a conversation with earlier today and reached an amicable understanding with. So really, essentially, it's a 13-person committee as of our last regular meeting. I'm not counting the Halloween meeting because, well, it's Halloween and who wants to show up to that? But our last regular meeting, it was essentially a 13-member committee with 2 people that couldn't make it for various reasons. Now, given how student government committees run, I feel like that is a very reasonable attendance track record to have. If you have any questions on that, please do forward those to me. The third point I want to bring up tonight is about decorum. One of the things Roberts is very strict about is that you are not to question or, as Roberts puts it, impugn the motives of a senator in debate. I'm going to quote from Roberts right now. When a motion is pending, a member can condemn the nature or likely consequences of the proposed measure in strong terms, but he must avoid personalities, and under no circumstances can he attack or question the motives of another member. The measure, not the member, is the subject of debate. I would encourage all of us to keep that in mind as we're going ahead. This is a battle of ideas, not a battle of personalities. Lastly, I understand parliamentary procedure got a little complex tonight. Sorry about that, and thanks for bearing with Senate. It is what it is. I've gone on for quite a while already, so the lectures update will be online. Just go to lectures.iastate.edu, and all of our lectures are laid out there. And the safety walk is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Again, please do show up. The daily's going to be there, so I really think we should put our best foot forward. An article's going to be written about it. This is a really great chance for us to sort of have the student body see us swing into action and really taking tangible actions to improve campus in a way that affects all students in a positive manner. So I would really ask that you be there if you can. I yield.
Senator Litt?
Super short, super sweet. Order form is due tonight. I'm going to send it in the group me again because I know how much everyone loves that. The t-shirts are just $18, so if you haven't bought one yet, maybe consider that. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Closes tonight. Order something. Bye.
We'll just go along this back table, so start with Elizabeth and then just pass the mic.
I really appreciate the debate you guys had on the SMART campaign program. I know that didn't pass, but if you are interested in incorporating sustainability into your campaign to whatever extent is legal and allowed by the Election Commission, I would absolutely love to support you with that. I know the committee members that provided input were also in favor of the program, so even if it's not codified, we would love to work with you on that. I would personally go bananas for it. That's the kind of work I want to do for my career. So if that is something that is interesting to you, reach out to me. I would love to help you plan an event or provide you with resources or anything like that. Like I said, I'd go crazy for it. So.
So I just wanted to remind everybody, going into your committee meetings this week, I'm only going to send that to Senate committees and then PR and D&I. But if you want to have a conversation with lectures or, not PR, I see the police board, that'd be great. But please be conscious of some general ideas. What principles does your committee have interest in that you want to see marketed in the document that we use to fund student organizations? I think that'll be really useful. One other thing I do want to shout out, Mariana Gonzalez, who used to be a member of this body, ran for vice president this year. She's been a really wonderful member of the community. If you look at her Instagram page, she has an initiative going on right now. If you're able to donate a couple dollars, it's a really great cause. I would encourage you all to look into that. Thank you.
Hello. I didn't have my placard up because I forgot my placard. But I just wanted to thank Senate for confirming the ad hoc deputy director of IT position. Honestly, I think it's a cooler name than regular old director of IT, so maybe we can get that changed somehow. But anywho, definitely takes a lot of stress off my shoulders and ensuring that the student government website doesn't burst into flames upon my exit. But yes, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
I had a bit of a full day, and I apologize on getting the exec update delayed to you all, but there is a lot of information in it tonight. Please take the time. If you read one a month, maybe this would be the one to read. And at the top item is the U.S. Diversity Survey. Please take it. I cannot see your email. I cannot see anything except the number of responses, and if I see less than the number of people in this room, I will be concerned. So I'll be watching, but please do take the survey, and please pass it on to any members that you might think will be able to fill it out.
Great. Closing announcements from Vice Speaker and Speaker. Do you have another closing announcement, Senator Debate? Go ahead.
On a very lighter note, if you're wondering why Senator Hayes and I are so colorful tonight, that is because it is Diwali, the Festival of Lights. So happy Diwali, and continue to go ahead and spread the light of knowledge and take over the darkness of ignorance. I yield.
All right, everybody, tonight was very long. Thank you so much. I ended up having to leave because I haven't eaten all day, but we did it. I think going into the heavier conversation is that communication is key on the aspect, not even regarding diversity and inclusion. I think we saw a lot of stuff on the Senate floor tonight where people could have had conversations or gone to different committee meetings, and I think that that's something, or just talk, because we are all members of student government, and having that conversation is really important. If there are issues that you're having, I think it is good to bring it to the Senate floor so other senators can listen, but I think also sitting down and having a conversation is something that's incredibly important as well. With that, I guess that's all I have to say. If you do have any questions or you do want to sit down and talk to me about anything, please let me know.
Okay, you're almost all free. Yeah, I guess I wrote down some thoughts just on everyone's closing announcements. I think a point that Vice Speaker Crabb made is good. Having these sorts of, there's obviously going to be disagreements between everybody in this room. The place for that can oftentimes be on the floor, but I think your relationships and the body as a whole is bolstered by having conversations in private, working out your differences in personal conversations. Obviously, that may not always be a remedy. So if you're looking to come to a resolution and you need help from anybody in this room, I'm more than happy to help. I think what's important for this body going forward is that we're all on the same page, or at least we understand each other enough to work with each other and help the students get done what they want to get done. Moving on to a housekeeping item, Trevor Poundstone, our clerk, has asked me to ask all of you to not reply all to his minutes emails. And apparently that's a pain for him and for people who are included on those conversations. I don't know. I haven't been a part of that, but he just asked me to let you all know. And lastly, we are down to 3 meetings left in our second session of Senate. We've got one after this, one immediately after, and then we have Thanksgiving break, and then we have one right before Christmas, and then there's prep week. So if you have initiatives that you want to get tackled, now's the time to tackle them for sure. If you need help with any of those, please let me know. Also, we have the outreach credit program. If you have participated in an outreach before the program was passed, that'll count for this semester. But you need to have 2 outreach credits. So if you're a senator, reach out to me. If you are in cabinet, reach out to Chief of Staff Ludwig. But yeah, we're coming down to the deadline. So let me know if you need help with anything. I'm more than happy to help. Everybody up here is more than happy to help. I move to adjourn. Go Cyclones.
Is there a second? Seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned.